You. I am super excited to have my very first wonderful guest, Garth Riley. Welcome, Garth.
Well, it's great to be here. It's like we changed roles.
Oh, home, right?
It is a little lonely.
I've met Garth all over the place, but the last time I saw Garth was on Garth Riley Perspective, which is his show on Roger Sturham.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I met you, let's go back to that. I met you at Variety Village and years ago, and then because I volunteered there. So over the years, I'd see you come and go. We'd say hi, very friendly. And then 2 years ago, before I took the current job I'm taking now, other than doing media, I saw you there, and I was just going on as a salesman. Anyways, we connected, and then next thing I see, you got this best-selling book.
Isn't that well? Look at you cross-promoting me. Thank you so much. It's so great. Well, and then the best-selling book turns into this Unstoppable You show.
Right. Which we talked about the fact that just stepping through doorways, but that's also.
Yes.
I mean, okay, you're a mountain. People know this, right? They know you're a mountain climber, right? They knew all that. I mean, I feel like I'm doing nothing. I feel like I'm doing nothing as dynamic as that.
What?
I don't even know what to say.
Oh my gosh, this man is phenomenal. You knock socks off wherever you go. And you know, a recent initiative that you were just talking to me about is the anti-bullying.
You know, it was something that I don't know, I must have been wired this way. I mean, I was bullied as a kid. So
Really?
So I imagine it's like I'm 6'6", 300 pounds. I mean, so right now, I mean, it doesn't seem like I'd be bullied, but I was bullied as a kid from very young, and had to learn different ways to run home from school. Didn't like to fight, but eventually had to fight. But anyways, there was something inside of me that always said I had to stand up for what was right. And unfortunately, when you do that, you get smacked down quite a bit.
Yes.
So fast forward a little later in life, and I created this talk called Sticks and Stones May Break My Bones, featuring a technology called the permission slip. And I shared it with a few people, and then next thing you know, I was in 16 schools, and every school had saw a diminishing ratio of bullying just after being there for an hour.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So next thing you know, I did about 300 schools, and then
That's a big jump.
it was a big jump.
Brilliant.
I didn't think I was actually a public speaker until I did 100.
Right. All right.
Isn't that a weird thing?
Like a magic number. I know.
Do you have it?
Well, it was 500.
Okay, so to me
That
it
was
was
like long past.
so when I did 100, I thought,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm real.
Yes.
So the anti-bullying idea and the bully diffusing idea was really teaching people how to take words and diffuse the effect of a word.
Nice.
And that's what I taught people. And then recently, I was teaching people that are running for a political party that's not well known.
Yes.
And I was teaching these wonderful people who decided that they had enough. And I was teaching them how, when you get in front of somebody and how they're going to bully you,
Yes.
how to diffuse the bullying. So I just did it again in a similar setting.
Amazing. And then recently, you were just doing bullying for media in a roundabout kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the same thing. I mean, what happens is media has one responsibility, and that's to get a good soundbite, unfortunately. So these guys and gals were going to go into debates, and the next thing I knew was going to happen is, we did some mock interviews.
Great.
And I said to this one gentleman, I said, look, you sound like a grouchy old guy. I said, and that's the piece. Everything you said after that was awesome.
Yeah.
But that piece there defines the rest of your campaign.
Yeah.
Now, he disagreed with me.
I bet.
And I said, what's that?
Was that the grouchy part of him?
You know what? It was because I was telling him to be something he wasn't, but he needed to be authentic, but with not being that authentic, because he only has a nanosecond to make an impression.
Yes.
So anyways, life's about impressions.
Life is about impressions, and you're also an entrepreneur.
I am.
And it's interesting that you talk about the nanosecond of an impression, and this show is called Unstoppable You.
Right.
So will you say more about the nanosecond of impressions in your entrepreneur world?
Well, we both could talk about this. I mean, think about this. I mean, okay, when people look at you in a second and they say, oh, I wonder what happened.
Four-way amputee,
Right.
yeah.
So they don't know. So they're trying to figure out a story.
Yes.
So what do you do immediately? You do this naturally. You start talking about everything else.
Yes.
You acknowledge it and you move on.
Yes.
I have a disability as well. So I wear 2 AFO braces on my legs, and I walk with this interesting strut. People think I have an attitude. I just have imbalance. So what I mean is you have to point out the obvious right away.
Yes.
And then people will then be able to then hear your message. But if you don't address it, people
Yes.
are just sitting there wondering all the time.
They can't listen. I call that the stinky moose,
The stinky moose. Tell me about that. What do you mean?
Like imagine there's a stinky moose under the table.
Okay, that's hard to imagine, but go ahead.
And nobody can see it.
Okay.
But there's no ignoring it. Right? It's there, right? Like you said, that's hard to imagine.
Kind of like cabbage cooking in Winnipeg. Oh, but go ahead.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah. So you can't ignore the fact that there's cabbage cooking in Winnipeg.
Right, but you can't see it.
But you can't see it.
And nobody wants to talk about it.
No. So you've got to air it out. You've got to say, I'm sorry, I'm doing some cabbage cooking. Or you got to air it. Yeah, the stinky moose. And so right off the bat, they see the disability and you just try to, you stick out your hand because they don't know whether to shake your hand or not.
Right.
And then they do shake their hand.
Right, which we did.
Yes.
And I said, my hand's huge.
Yes.
It looks bigger now.
Look what happened. He took my hand, folks. The last one I got.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yes.
I was playing sledge hockey. So now they call it Paralympic hockey, but they used to call it sledge hockey. So
yes.
I was 46. I decided I would try and play hockey.
Amazing.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm shooting myself down the ice like crazy, finally, because it took forever to get strength up here. And there's a guy from the Peterborough team, and he comes in front of me. And literally, I pull up, but the front of my rudder runs over his leg.
Oh.
I am sick. I'm almost going to throw up. Because I look at this guy, and I say to him, I'm like, you only had one leg. And I just took the other one. Yeah. And I looked over at him, I'm like, Travis, are you okay? And he looked at me, and he said to me, suck it up, Riley, it's hockey. So let me tell you that he had only one leg, yes. But he was still prepared to risk it playing hockey.
Oh, that's great.
You know, I think what happens is about perspective, and that's why I called the show The Rodney Perspective. I wanted just people to kind of get, you know, something new. When we brought you on the show, it was about, like, look what you did. I mean, you changed industries. Mm-hmm. I've changed industries.
Yes.
But most people would only see your disability.
Yes.
And give up on the opportunity to work with you. Yes. People would see my disability and say, maybe it's going to be a problem that, you know, I can't work enough hours. Or, I mean, I work more hours than I know.
Yes.
You too.
Oh,
I see your emails.
Yeah.
So, like, isn't it interesting?
It is interesting, and what it takes to be unstoppable.
But what did it for you to be unstoppable? I mean, it happened to you from birth.
Yes.
Do you think people are wired that way? I'm asking you a question now.
Yeah, I noticed. Did you see the way
I just turned it. But
it's a good sledge hockey technique, probably, right?
Probably.
You throw it back at the other guy.
Yes, or skate hard into the boards and fall over and cry like a baby.
Yes. You know, I think there is a big difference between people that are born this way and people that acquire a disability. And I think being born this way, I was just a kid that wanted to play.
Right.
And so I did whatever it took to go join those other kids playing.
Right.
I wasn't being a hero. I wasn't overcoming obstacles. I was just going to play. Mm-hmm. And so that involved figuring out, oh, there's a skateboard. I'm going to bum over to the skateboard and go play.
Right. So you had, and okay, so when my accident, I'll call it disability, and by the way, is that kind of crazy how the community's gone?
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it. It is a disability. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't have to have a fancy name for it. It's easy for me.
No.
I get better parking.
Yeah.
But what happened was, what I had to finally do is decide I wanted to get back to as normal as I could get. I wanted to be back engaged. Yeah. I didn't think about it.
No.
And people often would comment saying, you know, you should not be, you know, you should take it easy. I'm like, I don't know. So
yeah,
was I unstoppable before that?
Yes.
Do you think people were? I was?
I think you were unstoppable before that. I think there is an element of it. And I think it takes being unstoppable to hear through all that language of realism. Well, you should be resting. And when I decided to go for my Paralympic dream,
right.
I got a lot of messaging from people that I really respect and care about that that's unrealistic, Tracy. And it's like, how do you X out that nothing's unrealistic? If you want to make it happen, you make it happen.
I think there's a temperance between, I mean, eventually you have to say, yeah, this is going to go or it's not going to go.
Yes.
Have you had, I've had those in business. At times I thought, no matter my indomitable attitude that I was going to be able to succeed, I just finally took a look at it. It was a business venture I was in and went, you know, we're bleeding cash.
Yeah.
And there was nothing we could do. We had to stop. But is it wrong? I didn't feel there was anything wrong to stop. I was okay. I told everybody, hey, we tried.
Yeah.
It didn't work for various reasons. We were bleeding a ton of cash. And we were able to walk away. It hurt. We stung, but we got away from it. What about, do you think people don't know how to say stop?
I think I don't know how to say stop.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of times where there's sunk costs and you need to make the awareness and the choice to say, okay, this is too much sunk costs and stop. But I'm always saying yes and always going for it. And the bonus to that is every now and then, right? Walt Disney went bankrupt 9 times.
Right.
So how many times do you say stop? And that's kind of like the definition of success is the guy that never stopped.
Right, but is there a time when people realize they may need to take their course
Yes.
and just shove it away or make it look a little different? I find that's very difficult for people who are entrepreneurs. I've interviewed tons of them. I've worked with them. And one of the questions that comes up, I see that they're underfunded, they're undercapitalized, that there is no physical financial reason other than a miracle that they could possibly make it.
Yeah.
And yet they're undaunted, and you see that they're sinking their money, they're sinking
Yes.
all their capital.
Yes.
They're sinking everything they can because they believe giving up is actually a failure. And I don't say about giving up, I say redirect.
Yes. And that's where you're not giving up, right?
Right.
You're redirecting, you're
Correct.
seeing the end goal and the big picture. So is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing that you've always done the same way and expecting different results.
But don't you find that the people that told you not to do this, Tracy, and if you've actually failed at what you were trying to do,
Oh.
there was a bit of an I told you so coming up?
Massively.
So did that motivate you to or not to? Like,
Absolutely. I don't want to face those people that say I told you so by any means.
And what I do with those people, I actually say to them, at least I tried.
Yes.
Honestly, they said, well, you failed. I said, well, now I found out what didn't work.
Yes.
And for whatever reason.
Yes.
But you got to get going. It took me a long time to get there because I believe do it till you die.
Yes.
You were climbing a mountain. At what point in time did you just say, was there any point in time you thought, okay, this was a good idea down here, but at a certain point, did you finally hit that point? Because all of us do.
Yes.
Did you hit a point where you kind of go, I don't know if I can keep going? Did it ever happen?
You know what's interesting in my life is where that happened is all of the other people's perspectives on that mountain.
Seriously.
Like I'm going for it, and then they've hit that spot.
So they hit it.
They're done, and they're are
expecting you.
frustrated that I'm not. And they're almost pissed off. They're like, I got these arms, I got these legs, and Tracy's still waking up earlier and heading out earlier because their long legs could go further.
Right.
So if I started earlier, I would still finish after everybody. They would pass me at some point in the day, but I need,
So you were their excuse not to quit.
Well, that would be nice, but they were almost like, you really need to rest, and are you really being good for your health? And
How do you get by that? Because there are some people in the disguising, and I see it in corporate world all the time.
where they project.
In the disguising of, you know what, you need to take it easy.
Yeah.
And at one time I remember going, oh yeah, maybe I do. I had a little private commiseration
begin to
party.
wonder.
And I went, but why? It's lonely here.
Yeah, 22nd pity party is all I allow myself.
Yeah.
You're allowed to feel it and then move on. But the trick is, as a four-way amputee, speaking in a way that, and a woman or someone with an acquired disability in a very competitive industry,
Truly.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
is that you are capable. Because what those people did when they couldn't stop me is they go to the leaders
Right.
and they say, I think you need to stop her. I think this is a risk.
That's true.
And then
I've seen that too.
And so that's also.
So now you're getting somebody from Pop like, hey, we got to stop Tracy.
Yes. And so it's having that confidence and realizing that it's like Muhammad Ali.
Right.
I am the greatest. And he might have been a tiny little fighter, but he became the greatest.
Right.
And so it's having that confidence, real or fake, of projecting I am capable so that you can instill a confidence in others.
I don't set out to do that, but
No.
I've heard so many people say I'm inspired or I feel something, and my wife says to me, you change a room up, and I don't really realize I do that. I mean, I think I've become aware that something happens. I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
I know where I work right now. I'm in a position where we had a really profound thing that we had to look at. I wanted to close the drama department. By the way, we weren't in the theater business.
Oh.
We were in a company, and there was drama everywhere, as there is everywhere, And I said to people, instead of putting the person under the bus because we don't need any more mechanics,
Yes.
I said, why don't we say, if we're making mistakes, if the process is broken, meaning it's not clear, not understood, and not being followed, any of those things, then progress cannot be made. And so what we started to do was take the person out of the situation.
Yes.
And I'd say, is the process clear? And if they would say, well, so-and-so, I said, I don't want to hear about that. What step of the process are we meeting? This is cultural change. This is about process. But I think it comes back to just sitting here talking to you.
Yes.
Was I had to learn how new processes, when I had my disability, I had to develop new processes to do what I had to do to get going forward. I think I would have to say I became process driven because of my situation.
Yes.
You?
I think spot on, right? People say the way you see a situation, like planning for a trip and so before my legs are on, it's lifting things up high all around the room. And then before I take my legs off, it's lifting everything down low. And that's just like morning and night. So process. So then you go to Air Canada, or you go to Shoppers Drug Mart, or you go to Uber, or you go to Royal LePage this morning where I was speaking, and you look at where are the pieces of the gaps that people could, and when you're rounding a mark in a race, is what can I prepare so that when I round the mark, it's simpler, it's faster, it's ready, rather than getting to the mark and then scrambling to do all the pieces.
I have a story about that, but it's probably one of the last stories, I guess, before we have to go, because I see that everybody's. But I have a story about being ready in the process.
I would love that.
Yeah. It was in high school.
Oh.
Sorry, you're not gonna like it. It was in high school. My buddy Chris Mayer and I were the worst runners of the whole cross country team. We decided that we would go for fun instead of ribbons. So the night before, we planted empty beer bottles along the trip. And as we picked them up along before the finish line, and we came across the line with beer bottles in our hand. And so that was process, that was projecting, and it was effective. It was very good. It was for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Principal, not so much.
But that took effort and planning, and you were goal-driven.
That's true.
Yes.
And honestly, I didn't get an award for it. I have an awesome memory for it from 40 years ago.
Yeah, and you got a lot of admiration from your peers.
Yes, we did. We did. We still remember it to this very day.
Oh.
Well, I just think that you've done what you're doing here is amazing. Talking to people in industry, so and people that help contribute to people's well-being. So man, we could go on forever here.
Oh, we totally could. And Garth, you are the living, walking example of unstoppable, and the way you exceed uncertainty and embrace possibility, and that you rally people and you connect people so that they can be launched.
Yeah, that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do. It's great to connect with you.
Oh, it was wonderful to connect with you. You are welcome back anytime, my friend.
Okay, I'll just go for a coffee. I'll come right back.
So, folks, we are going to go for a short break, and we'll return right after this commercial. Welcome back to Unstoppable You. And before we say our full goodbye, I would love for our viewers to know how to find you, Garth, all these magical tips. Garth Riley, folks, how do they find you?
The easiest way for people to get a hold of me is actually just go to my Facebook, make a friend of me. Just say I saw you on Tracy's show, so that way I won't know that I'll know who you are, and I'm happy to engage with you. You'll see all about me there, and you can YouTube me. There's lots of stuff. Facebook's easiest.
Garth Riley.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you on the show.
I'm going to come back next time and we'll do more stuff.
I
just invited myself back.
Did you see that? Look how cheeky he is.
It's my words.
And if you're cheeky too, I like cheeky people.
Yeah.
And I would love cheeky people to come to find Unstoppable Tracy on everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all over. Even my website, Unstoppable Tracy. And you're going to see Garth again. He's going to come back and talk about his volunteer work and his sport life, and even overcoming obstacles like depression.
Yeah.
There is hope, he said.
There is hope. Just takes a second.
So there's a teaser to hammer our Garth back.
Okay, thanks, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. No, I made your hand disappear. See y'all.
Bye.